Ever imagine yourself plopped down right in the middle of a debate in ancient Athens?
Oh, yeah.
Sun's beating down, you're surrounded by those stark white marble statues,
Mm-hmm.
and the air's just crackling with wit and wisdom.
I like it.
Well, that's the energy we're hoping to bring you today as we dive into Plato's Gorgias.
Excellent.
We've got a real classic for you today. This dialogue's got it all. Socrates going head-to-head with Gorgias, who was like the superstar rhetorician of his time.
Absolutely.
Our mission, to figure out what makes rhetoric tick, right? Why people are so often confused about it,
Right.
and how it all connects to this idea of justice.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one. And who better to help us unpack this whole ancient art of persuasion than you?
Well, that's very kind. I think it's important to keep in mind that back in ancient Athens, rhetoric, this wasn't just some boring old subject you learned in school.
Right.
This was the skill to have, right? Think about it. You're in a courtroom or the assembly or even at some fancy dinner party trying to impress someone.
Mm-hmm.
Your words, they had real power
They did.
to shift opinions, to change the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
And Gorgias, he was a master of that.
It's a Michael Jordan of persuasion, right?
Exactly.
And so, in true Socratic fashion, our man Socrates has some questions for Gorgias, right?
Of course he does. He always does.
Starts off by asking him point blank, like, what is rhetoric really? Seems like a pretty simple question.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But this is Socrates we're talking about. There's always more to it than meets the eye.
Always. Always layers with Socrates. And right off the bat, Gorgias gives us a definition that still resonates today. He says rhetoric is this art of persuasion, especially when it comes to stuff about justice, right?
Okay.
But he's quick to point out that it's not just about throwing out facts and figures. It's deeper than that.
Yep.
It's really about crafting these arguments, these lines of reasoning that connect with your audience at an emotional level. And that audience can be a jury, or it could just be, your friends at the bar.
It's about getting to their hearts and minds.
Exactly.
So Gorgias is saying a really good rhetorician could even be more convincing than a doctor when it comes to talking about health. That's a bold statement.
It is. But see, that's where it gets really juicy, because Gorgias is pointing out this crucial difference between, persuasion on the one hand and true understanding on the other. It's like he's saying rhetoric does its thing in this world of opinions, which aren't always based in, cold, hard facts.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I can think of so many times when I've been totally won over by someone's charisma, even if I wasn't completely on board with what they were actually saying.
All the time.
Right. Yeah, it's that captivating delivery versus the cold, hard facts.
Exactly. It's style over substance. And that tension, that right there, we're going to see that pop up again and again as we get deeper into Gorgias.
I can't wait. But naturally, Socrates, never one to let a juicy argument just slide on by. He throws Gorgias a curveball.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, so if we're saying that rhetoric is about persuading people on stuff about justice, shouldn't the person doing the persuading, shouldn't they also be just?
It's such a classic Socrates move.
Right.
On the surface, it seems so straightforward, Like you wouldn't take financial advice from someone who's flat broke.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So at first, Gorgias, he seems to be right there with him. Of course, he says, of course, a rhetorician needs to know what justice is to be effective. But then
When comes the twist? What happens next?
Socrates, in true Socrates fashion, he's like, hold on a second. What happens when someone uses rhetoric for bad, for injustice?
Oh, he's got him trapped.
Right. Is it the teacher's fault then? Because earlier, Gorgias had said that a craftsman, he isn't to blame for how his tools get used, right? Like a hammer can build a house or it can crack a skull. It all depends on the one holding the hammer.
Right.
But with that one question, Socrates is forcing Gorgias to confront this really thorny ethical dilemma, this idea that rhetoric, this powerful tool, can be used for good or for evil.
Man.
It's not enough to just be persuasive. You have a responsibility for how your words land, for the impact they have.
Yeah.
And you can practically feel Gorgias squirming as he tries to reconcile this. In fact, the text actually says that he gets flustered.
Really?
Clearly, he's uncomfortable with this idea that someone would use rhetoric to intentionally do wrong.
Yeah, he really puts Gorgias on the hot seat.
He does.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
And right at this point, a new character comes in trying to defend rhetoric a little bit, save the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Polus.
Okay.
Who was a student of Gorgias.
Got it.
So he's coming in kind of fired up, eager to prove himself.
Sure. Like that intern at the office who thinks they've got it all figured out.
Totally.
I've been there. And of course, Socrates, he's always up for a good challenge, right? So he decides to compare rhetoric to, wait for it, cookery.
Whoa, that's kind of out of left field. I mean, when I first read that, I was like, how did those two things even go together?
All right, it's a head scratcher.
Yeah.
But Socrates, he's clever, right?
Yeah.
He argues that both cooking and rhetoric, they both kind of rely on this, like flattery. They're all about appealing to your senses, whether it's like your taste buds with a bomb meal or your ears with some really captivating speech.
Right.
But they're not always good for you in the long run.
Like that big plate of nachos, right?
Exactly.
It's amazing in the moment.
Oh, yeah. It hits the spot. But
yeah.
And so Socrates is saying that rhetoric, when it's just about, being persuasive for the sake of it, it can be kind of like that. It can make something seem really appealing, like you just got to have it, but it doesn't actually tell you if it's truly good for you. You know what I mean?
So is Socrates saying that all rhetoric is bad? Like it's just all a bunch of, empty words to try to manipulate people?
Not necessarily. It's more like he's drawing this distinction between what he calls true arts, right? Like think medicine. It's based on like real knowledge and it's trying to make you healthier.
Right.
And then there are like mere experiences. He uses cooking as an example, which is really more about like, indulging, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
Pleasing the senses. And so he's implying that rhetoric could be this really noble pursuit, like a true art.
Okay.
But more often than not, it gets kind of twisted because people are just focused on persuasion, on winning, instead of on what's actually true or good.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. It all comes back to that whole ethical thing we were talking about before, right? Like a chef, they can use their skills to make like really nutritious, delicious food, or they could just churn out junk.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Socrates is making us think critically about all this rhetoric we encounter in our daily lives.
It's true.
Think about the ads we see, the speeches we hear, even just our conversations with other people. How often are we being persuaded because something is actually beneficial? Or are we just, falling for something because it sounds good?
It's scary how often we do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like how susceptible we are to stuff, even when we know better. Remember that time I told you about buying that, what was it, that miracle face cream that was supposed to, like, take years off?
Yeah.
I totally fell for it. Didn't do a thing.
We've all been there. Classic.
We have.
But that's exactly why this dialogue, Gorgias, it's still so relevant to us, even all these years later.
Yeah.
Because it encourages us to be, like, more savvy, more discerning about what we're hearing and seeing.
Totally.
To not just take things at face value, but to really question them.
Mm-hmm.
And to expect more than just fancy words from those who are trying to convince us of something.
It makes you wonder, though, like, how did people back then react to Socrates and his whole, questioning everything approach?
Well, not everyone was thrilled about it, let me tell you. And that brings us to perhaps the most, fiery character in the Gorgias.
I'm ready. This is where it gets good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me. We're about to talk about Callicles.
Oh, you know it.
Yes.
Here comes Callicles, ready to shake things up.
Okay, so for those of us who haven't, brushed up on our ancient Greek philosophy lately, who is this Callicles character?
Yeah.
And why is he so fired up?
Well, Callicles, he's all about, practicality.
Of course.
Real world stuff, how power really works in the world, right?
Okay.
He's the kind of person who thinks all those rules, the laws, the morals, they're just there to hold back the strong.
Interesting.
He's got that whole might makes right kind of vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not afraid to just come right out and say it.
Got it. He kind of reminds me of those, Machiavellian types, like the ends justify the means.
Exactly. That's a great comparison. Callicles, he believes in something he calls natural justice. It's this idea that the strong, they're the ones who should rule.
Okay.
And they should be able to take what they want, basically.
So he's not really into, playing by the rules.
Not so much, no. He sees all that stuff, all those rules about right and wrong. He thinks it's all just a way for the weak to, protect themselves from the strong.
Yeah, so he's basically saying there's, a different set of rules for people who can grab power.
Exactly. And to really hammer home this point, he brings up this example, a pretty controversial one, actually.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
He starts talking about Archelaus, this Macedonian king.
Okay.
Now, Archelaus, he wasn't exactly known for winning popularity contests, right? He took power through some pretty brutal means.
Got it.
But here's the thing. Instead of, condemning this guy, Callicles uses him as an example of someone who's actually living a good life.
Really?
Yeah, because he doesn't let all those conventional morals hold him back. He's free to, go after what he wants no matter what.
I can see how that would rub some people the wrong way. I mean, that's a pretty radical idea.
Oh, absolutely. It's like he's saying the strong have this almost obligation to seize power and enjoy the spoils.
So it's all about power and pleasure.
Pretty much. But of course, Socrates has something to say about that.
Naturally. How could he resist?
Right. He comes back with this argument that just because you can get away with something...
Which, let's be honest, a lot of powerful people do.
Right. Doesn't mean it's actually making you happy.
Okay, so what does Socrates say is the key to real happiness then?
He really believes it all boils down to living a just and virtuous life.
Even if you're not the one with all the power.
Especially then. He's saying it's about your internal state, your moral compass, not just what you can get away with on the outside.
It's a really different way of looking at it.
Totally. It's like two totally different worldviews clashing, right? You've got Callicles on the one hand, he's all about pragmatism, might makes right, that kind of thing. And then you've got Socrates on the other, holding strong to this idea of virtue and justice, even when it's hard.
So who's right? I mean, it's a question that's probably crossed all of our minds at some point or another.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Are we happier when we're chasing power and indulging every desire? Or is there a deeper kind of fulfillment that comes from sticking to a moral code, even when it means making sacrifices? What do you think?
I don't know about you, but I've definitely wrestled with that question a time or two. But before I get too lost in thought, let's get back to the dialogue. We can't forget about Socrates, right? He's not done with Callicles just yet.
Oh, not even close. This is where things get really interesting. To really drive home this point about the importance of inner justice.
Yeah.
He brings out the big guns. He tells this super captivating myth about what happens after we die.
Oh, I love this part. It's like, whoa, talk about a philosophical thriller.
Right.
But for those of us who haven't cracked open the Gorgias lately, what's the story?
Okay, so Socrates paints this really vivid picture of what happens when we die, right? He says we leave behind all the trappings of this life, our clothes, our social status, all of it. It just melts away. And we stand there naked before this judge named Rhadamanthus. And this judge, he's got this special ability to see every single action we've ever taken, every flaw, every bad deed.
Talk about nerve-wracking.
Right, no hiding. And then Socrates gets into these punishments that happen in the afterlife. And it's not pretty.
Oh, no.
But the whole idea is that those punishments are actually supposed to be, helpful in a way.
Really?
Yeah, they're supposed to help people improve, to become more just. It's only those who are truly, incorrigible, the ones who just refuse to change, who are punished forever.
Okay, so maybe there's a little hope for us after all. But I get the sense that Socrates isn't telling this story just to scare everyone straight.
Yeah.
There's a deeper point here.
Absolutely. This myth, it's this brilliant way to remind us that true justice, it's not about getting away with stuff here on Earth. It's about living a life that aligns with our values, knowing that ultimately our actions have consequences.
So that whole thing Callicles was talking about, being strong and taking what you want, Socrates is saying that might get you power, but it won't necessarily get you happiness.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, what's the point of winning if you're losing yourself in the process?
Man, that hits deep. It's a good thing to remember, too.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in keeping up appearances, trying to look successful and happy, even when things are tough on the inside.
Totally. Especially in today's world, right? Social media and all that.
It's everywhere.
But